will hear in a few minutes Igal from the stock exchange to give us a warm welcome and to explain to us what's the relationship with high-tech. And then we will have a very interesting fireside chat with Guy Gamzu here and Amir Gelman from the Junction. They will tell us a story about the fiber investment and investing in sharing economy in general. And then we will hear three very interesting startup speech by emerging entrepreneurs. And Adam from 500 Startups will give his insights and help them get their presentations more focused. So please help us make this event great. And if you have questions, you are free to share them with us. And please let's invite Igal to give us a few words.
Thank you. I will only take a few minutes, I promise. I just want to welcome you all to the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. Thinking about it, and I'm not sure I will be well targeting my words, but an exchange, I think it's one of the most ancient way to share an economy. I mean, think about it, the money of the pensions of each and every one in this room, I see many young people, but even your money is invested in companies which are issued and enables you to take part of these companies. Now, many people ask me, what's the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange in such an event? Why you do it in here? Besides, you have a very nice facility. I must tell you that the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange in the last 3 years were in trouble because the main scene in the Israeli economy, the high-tech scene, was not part of the exchange. And every day, I say, billions of shekels from the institutional here in the Hadam Street, okay, from the Psagot House till Petach Tikva to Excellence House, is going to the Arbo, and this money goes abroad. On the other end, in Montefiore Street, through Herzliya till Rosh Hashanah, Haifa, 6,000 or 7,000 startups, high-tech companies, go to ships on the Tel Aviv Arbo and go abroad. And the Israeli money meets the Israeli startups on Ellis Island, USA, on the benefit of the US pension and institutional. And I think that for us as an Israelis, we are missing a point because we cannot raise big companies in Europe. We cannot raise companies like Teva, not even help it, okay? Because what's happening today is that many companies are going to exit, and not because of the greed or not because of the entrepreneurs wanted to exit. Sometimes it's because you're at a crossroad, whether you're going to raise big money and try to develop, or you will be sold. And many companies choose to be sold. This house was not very shiny for high-tech companies for many reasons. Those reasons are changing. Regulation for high-tech companies changed dramatically in the last 3 months. 45 regulations, benefits that came only in the last 3 months. And there are many other things. I won't take your time, but I can only want to give you one. I'd like to ask you something, not to give you something, okay? If any of you know any kind of IT company, mature company, not a startup, not seed money, not a round day money, and he wants to hear about issuing in Tel Aviv, right now, 05488776666. I will say it again, this is my number. I sleep between 2 o'clock a.m. to 6 o'clock. In between, I will love to answer all your questions regarding issuing in Tel Aviv. 05488776666. You'll be amazed about the options to have money in the exchange and to raise money in the exchange due to the alternatives of private money, VCs, etc. And I'd love to tell you all about the changes. And in the next few months and years, you'll see the Israeli Stock Exchange becoming again the house for the Israeli high-tech, like it was like 20 years ago when Tower, Na'is, Elbit, Elron all issued in Tel Aviv and grow in Tel Aviv. Thank you very much and have a very nice evening.
Thank you very much. Before we move to the next session, I just wanted all to let you know that very, very soon there is coming again the start of Pirates in Israel. For those that doesn't know, it's an organization with young entrepreneurs from all over the world that are coming for a limited time to Israel to create startups. So if there is anyone in the audience that is interested in hearing about these young entrepreneurs coming to Israel, you can approach Yossi here in the audience. Where is Yossi? Here. And let him know that you want to know more about this group of young entrepreneurs coming from all over the world. Now we'll hear a very, very interesting story for all of us, how an investment in sharing economy created Fiverr, one of the leading sharing economy companies in Israel. So welcome please Guy Gamzu. And Amir Gelman from the Junction. And I will hear their story, and if you have questions, please wait for the end of the dialogue. Thank you.
I'm sure those one will hear us or see us. So whatever you want. Hey everyone, my name is Amir Gelman. I'm part of Genesis Partners, running the Junction, and we'll be happy to know more about Guy Gamzu. So if you can introduce yourself for a few minutes to the audience.
Hi everybody, thank you for honoring my presence here by coming over and spending a good time of your own personal matters. I see that some people have cameras and phones, and I'm happy with that. If somebody wants to record it or something, that's fine, but I'm telling you that subconsciously I will probably feel less free to share maybe some sensitive information that might slip otherwise. So take it into account. Back in '97, at that time I had my own business. It was in a rather old industry. I started as somebody who manufactured diamonds here in Israel. There are no diamonds in the ground here, but I used to import the rough diamonds, bring them here, and then process them in a factory which I built. There's no school for diamonds, so you actually have to learn it the old way. It means that you go sit with somebody who knows the job and just help the person and get your skills from watching and start doing stuff. So that's how I started. I had my own business. My business was productive and it was semi-profitable. I did have some extra savings, and some friends told me that there are younger people. I thought I was rather young, and I felt young, and it was 20 years ago, but I was told that there are younger people that actually want to meet somebody old that can help with their stuff. And the help wasn't just to meet me. They needed resources in most cases. They were looking for funding. At a certain point in time, I did have the capacity to invest a few tens of thousands of dollars. I found myself becoming a partner in the first startup, and that was the beginning of a long chain of events. And I don't want to take the time of the story of Fiverr, but fast forward 10 years, I was at the junction of deciding whether I want to deal with the already existing portfolio that I had at that time, or focus entirely on high tech, and I decided on the later. And since then, that's what I've been doing full time. So I'm what's called an angel investor, or in short, investor. I invest in very early stages of companies. That's the only common denominator in all investments. And if you like, I can say a few words about how I go about it.
You are known for an interesting investment procedure and process. We'll be happy to hear a bit more. How do you select the startups, and what are you looking for when you see the teams?
Sure. So I will start from the later. I don't have a scope. I don't adopt a certain thesis, which is the right thing to do if you're a VC, for instance. So I don't have this. Because I started organically and just got carried away into it, and in some ways was lucky enough to go through the 2001 bubble burst and other things that happened in 2008, 2009, and still be lucky enough to have some financial success with some of the investments to the extent that I can allow myself to do the same thing over and over again. But I do what I do because this is my real passion. And I usually say that I would even, it's like a hobby, so I would even pay for that, and then I realize that I actually do. But that's really my passion. So I don't have a scope, and at a certain stage in life, because I was around, I found out that a lot of startups, a lot of people heard that it's a name that you should approach, but I found that even though I had more time to deal with this kind of passion, I still wasn't in a position to be at a level of service that I thought should be appropriate to people that actually decide to found companies. So I developed a system like 5 years ago, and this system allows me today, just to share with you some statistics, I meet around 400 companies every year. I don't have assistants or stuff like that. It's people that meet me personally. I do it, let's say, it takes about 15 to 20% of my time. And the rest of the 80% is invested only in the companies which I'm a partner in. So you will not find me a partner in more than I don't know, single-digit number of companies at any given time because of, again, scarcity of time and attention and ability. You will find a very wide variety in terms of the age of the companies. So there are companies like 11 years old, and companies that are 1 year old, and it's a very big difference. About specifically, what I did is I simply put up a web page, which the only thing that one has to do is actually to jot in the email address. Once you do that, you get some sort of an auto-response that invites you to fill out some details about your venture. I get it to my email, which it's one of my companies that does the client of the email. I get it. I know it's important because it gets importance level which is high. I get to see it pretty immediately once I open my phone. I read it, and then I respond usually with some sort of something that can be as minor as just inviting the person without too many words, sometimes with an additional sentence. But the next step is a physical, is a video face-to-face meeting, which is very, very, very brief. And that's the uniqueness about it. It's 10 minutes video conference. We do that. What I do is I prepare myself before the meeting for each company. It's about, I don't know, 20 minutes for each one. When there is the meeting, I take a lot of notes to myself. And then what I do, usually the day after actually, after I slept on it, I go back and work on every company and writing a response. The response in, again, very large percentage, you can say all of the responses in a certain way, would be that I'm not in a position to invest. But I will include usually some inputs unless I don't have. So the inputs may include my impression, what I think should be looked at, which I call it my 2 cents on that. And a lot of times when it's relevant, also a list of specific people that I think the founders should approach in their endeavor to find another investor. And obviously there are cases where there is a follow-up after the meeting. I actually invite for more information, and then we do a physical meeting face-to-face. I can share with you that this process actually ends on that day. So once the time span is maximum a week from my perspective, that the person may wait from the moment they approach me to the moment they can actually have the meeting. From that moment, it will be less than a week to meet face-to-face. And once we do, and we meet face-to-face, usually the same day, there will be an email from me saying, there will be a handshake if it's an investment, but just an email following up with the main terms that, as I see them, as we discussed. And here again, it's an entire discussion about my philosophy, about how to invest. I invest in a very plain vanilla manner. I feel that I got scarred actually from seeing founders that actually signed agreements that were very, very, I would say, hostile in cases to the situation, or not mutual in their philosophy. I think it creates, it's not a matter of being a Robin Hood for founders, it's a matter of serving the real purpose of the startup. So that's essentially how it works. And last, but not least, by the way, after the brief meeting, it's my service level agreement with myself is that I reply within 24 hours to every founder that actually met me. And the last thing, which is again something that I don't usually share, is that when I do make an investment, I also have a simple form of open questions which I give to every founder, every founding member, and I also share my own story. It's actually asking the people to tell their personal story of life, and I share my personal story of life, because after all, we go usually, hopefully, for a journey which is going to be extremely long. And first and foremost, we are people. We work together. We have to know one another, not only in the context of work. So that's a little long, but that's how it works.
Great. By the way, the link, the URL for the
it's guygamzu.com. Simple.
Everybody.
I'm there.
Let's go back to 2010. The Fiber guys didn't have the email yet, right? Didn't have the guygamzu.com yet, but they reach out. We have to hear your story with the connection with the with Fiber.
Okay, so I got an email. I wasn't here in Israel. I got an email from a lawyer that knows me and knew the founders, and she told me that she thinks that I should meet them because they are about to raise funds and so forth. And actually she said that there is a case, the reason they approached her is because they are going to close a certain investment with somebody. And I said that if they are in that position, since I was abroad, my best recommendation was that they would close it as fast as they can, because I wouldn't like to jeopardize any opportunity which is plausible. Lucky for me, it didn't happen. It was a VC. They said yes, but it takes a while. And I was back, and they got back. I called Micha, and we met. told me the story. He said, Shai and I, Shai is the co-founder, another co-founder of Fiverr. Shai and I built this thing. It's a marketplace for microservices. People can offer stuff. What we did, we built an entire infrastructure. He told me about the infrastructure, the eye can see and what the eye can't see. We can talk about it later, or if you'll have questions about how to build a marketplace. I think they did a remarkable job in thinking. And the nice thing about it, it wasn't called a marketplace. I don't think the term was even in the air. We usually think that the language that we use today is something that people use, but they didn't tell me or mention the word marketplace. We talked about an e-commerce thing for services and so forth. And the day that we met, in that meeting, we actually decided that I'm going to, I would like to invest, and we set the prices. I thought that the way that they already had an agreement with the other VC, which was debt, was not the right way. So I suggested we actually set a value, and we tell the VC to join me in the same investment under the same terms. And in that, we met in the morning or in the afternoon, and then in the evening, they were based in Binyamina. So I see some people that are not from Israel. Binyamina is like, I don't know, half an hour from the center. So it's not a usual thing. So what I did, I drove to meet Shai, which is the co-founder, just over a beer because we were going to be partners. And we just sat, drank beer and talked about where we can take it. So that's how that's actually the day that it started. We had a handshake and decided on going to this journey.
I think everybody's interested about the why. What was in them that you decided to go? Because that's a story that everybody's working on marketplaces said most of marketplaces are a good idea. So what made you think about those things and the why, metrics-wise or just people-wise?
I'm afraid that my reply to this is not helpful because I admit that all my decision-making process is based on pure intuition. I think that like any other person that deals with, has responsibility on his own well-being, including the finance, has to reason stuff. So I assumed that I reasoned it to myself. But I never really took a decision because something was really formulated and I planned it and I saw something which was a business opportunity. At that time, it was a combination of the fact that I felt that there was a very good chemistry between Micha and myself. When and I already knew that I'm going to partner with them. So the meeting with Shai, only if something really bad would have happened, I don't know, it would probably make me a bit worried about my decisions, but it was already a done decision within myself. I think that I was extremely excited by the story, but by the mere vision, which has nothing to do with our vision today, by the way. But it excited me to very high level to deal with that. And I also admired the way that they did on their own before even approaching anybody. I think they did a very, very good way of actually building something. And it seems that they know what they were doing. I felt a lot of trust. I felt like I often tell others, I felt that if I have to go to a foxhole or to the desert with somebody, I would be happy to go with these two people anywhere, and I would feel safe, and I would feel that I can help them, and they will help me to get to this destination. So that's how I felt, and it was pure feeling.
It's a known fact that most marketplaces, especially in the early stages, are dealing with chicken and the egg problem. They need to solve one of those, a seller or buyer. What was the status of Fiverr in that time when they met you, and how do you think a marketplace should solve this issue?
Well, first, you have to be very prepared. And because luck also likes better people that are prepared for some reason. So you better be prepared for the luck. And they were lucky. We were lucky. I think the site was on the air already in March 2010, and I think that we had 250,000 visits already in June or in May. So there was a very natural growth, organic growth of the traction. The way it started was focusing on one actor, and that's important. Focusing on one actors, one peers, one set in this equilibrium buyer-sellers. The Fiverr guys, Micha and Shai, they decided to focus on sellers. And everything started, all the language and everything was focused from the seller side. And they did it so sophisticated, in a very sophisticated way. I'm not sure they even realized how sophisticated it was. Because what they did, instead of going to somebody and tell, I want to focus on sellers, so I would try to shout out, sellers, please come, this is a very good place for you. What they did is they wrote one sentence on their page. They wrote, I will, they left it blank, and then there was for $5. That's it. And they, and their wives and their cousins put some gigs. Everybody invented some gigs that they are willing to do for $5. That's what they did. There was an inventory of like 30 gigs, and they put it out there. In the background, they built an entire system to support not a transaction of $5, a transaction of $50,000 in terms of all the mechanics, all the payment stuff, all the support, the level of support, the level of responsiveness to support, the fact that they never ever let somebody from support, even later, take a template and reply to somebody. So all the thinking was around that. And they actually, physically, with every person that came on and opened the gig, they didn't let the gig go automatically before they saw. A person had to see what the gig is actually being offered, in order not to lose control on the content and the decency and the diversion of the offerings on the site. So, to your question, there is a chicken and the egg. You can't avoid it. There is an element of luck. You can't avoid it. There is a lot of noise that you have to come above, which means that you have to be awfully creative. Then you have to choose the channels by which you want to go in order to make this, to start this movement. And you have to have something extremely interesting in terms of your messaging, and you have to come up with something that is so concise and so filtered that anybody can understand everything about you just by looking at it, because people don't have an attention span like you have, and you have to realize it as soon as you can. And all that things actually align together to some sort of luck, because after several days, somebody saw this Fiverr thing and really liked it and wrote a blog post. And some people that already ordered some stuff and talked to other people, brought other people that opened up gigs. And to open up a gig was really simple. It was like 1, 2, 3, and you already have an offering. So everything was pretty smooth. But what happened is that this particular blog post went to another blogger, this thing went to another blogger, and then one thing led to another, and one morning it was on the main page of Yahoo Finance. I don't know how and why. And it was like a story that then was on the television, as if the site was there for like years. So what happened is that it drove a huge amount of traffic. There was like, I don't know, 800,000, the site collapsed. There was, traffic was too much, and then the spike went obviously down. But all that thing gave a lot of confidence that something is happening. And this something was actually served very well, so that people that already had the experience had a very good experience. It was all polished from all directions. It was something very small. The price was really right, and you just had to make sure that you don't, sorry for the word, don't fuck up the experience of the user, and that's what happened. So it started from that, actually, to your question.
6 years later, how do you see today as an investor the entire marketplace scene, sharing economy today? What has changed from your perspective as an investor?
Yeah, well, I think that the world is changing. I don't know. A lot of people say that, a lot of people feel that, but again, I feel that I need to share this with you. The world is changing, and if there are bubbles, bubbles are around numbers. So people may bubble up a potential, people bubble up valuations, expectations, and so forth. But when you remove all that from the surface, you're left out with a very well-known fact. The job market is not going to look as it used to look. People are not going to have their lives, finance their lives. Even the lifespan itself is changing every day. So that there is no question whether the economy will look very different, whether marketplaces are essential. I think that that's as clear as the sky. But the question here is about how things will evolve, in which market, and so forth. And I have one word which is a key word, I think, for a lot of stuff that is going on in marketplaces, and the key word is friction. Friction is a very interesting word that comes about in many aspects, also between people. There is a certain distance between people, which is the correct distance, and there is a lot of time when you see when there's a shift in distance, or there is another object or a person that comes into the mechanism, to the physics, there are changes. So it goes the same for the new economy. If you know how to take something which exists and remove friction, you have a huge edge. So people used to go sleep at friends if there was a convention, but it wasn't frictionless. You had to ask for a favor. You don't know whether this friend will come to you at the wrong time so that you can pay a favor back. And same goes for riding a car. I mean, people used other vehicles with other people sitting in front of the wheel for ages, but it had a lot of friction. In order to do that, you had to look for, there was uncertainty and friction. If it was a cab, if it was a car service, there was a lot of friction. You had to call, go down, wait, not sure if the driver knows, then sign some papers in order to confirm the fact that you actually rode the drive. You're not sure about the price. Too many things. Once you can remove friction from the interaction between people, boom, you have something. And that's one of the most interesting things about Fiverr, because Fiverr did not invent the fact that you can actually have a service between people. There were sites like freelancer.com, was born in Australia, it's a public company. There was Odesk, Elance, that became Upwork, joined together. There were a lot of sites. There was even Mechanical Turk of Amazon, which was like mini jobs. You could have an Indian person doing a lot of things in somewhere in the middle of nowhere. just a task. In order to, instead of having an AI, you could hire an Indian to do the job. It was all there. One thing wasn't there. Nothing solved the friction. When you were a buyer, there was a price issue. You never know. But, well, what exactly is the service and do I pay the correct price? The friction was also on the other side. The seller didn't know. How should I should price more, I should price less. Because Fiverr was a set price, and the format was a set format, you didn't have any options. You just have a gig, this is the field you have to upload, this is the image, this is what you need to do, and it's $5, that's it. There was no friction. The entire discussion shifted so that two people that came together, instead of talking about stuff they didn't like, they actually had to talk just about nothing, because you either wanted this thing for $5 or you didn't. So it was pretty simple. And once you did, you knew that you also have the other thing solved, because we didn't give the payment to the seller. We had, and we still hold, the price paid in escrow. And after delivery, we waited for 3 days, or for the immediate confirmation of the buyer that they liked what they got, and actually only then made the transaction a viable transaction. So nobody, if you really think about it, if you had to be somebody that want to do business with other people, we removed a ton of friction that was on the plate for any person on the planet. Today we are also moving other frictions. We constantly think about how we can improve them. And today we see ourselves as somebody that can actually enable people to become their own masters and responsible for their own destiny, their own well-being, their own economy. So if you have a talent and you have zero experience, we want to remove the friction of making you somebody that can actually do transactions for many hundreds or thousands of dollars. We have now many tens of thousands of sellers that's their job. So they wake up in the morning and that's what they do. I remember, by the way, that I think it was in the first year, there was one a seller that did these really amazing videos. So we decided to invite him to Binyamina from somewhere in Britain, and he came along, and we enjoyed his visit and everything, and we told him, look, we will pay for you to stay for another week, just you can enjoy Tel Aviv. So he said, no, I'm sorry, I have to go back to work. So we asked him, where do you work? He said, what do you mean? I work in Fiverr. I have a lot of things that I have to do, and I have to go home because my studio is there and everything. We even didn't realize that, and that was really very, very early on. But today, that's exactly the situation that we are set at.
What advice can you bring to the audience if, let's say, working on a marketplace, sharing economy, or any other consumer application, websites, or startups, assuming they have already the complete team, the idea is logic, what advice would you give them for the next steps?
I think that what you need to do is really, you have to not to be afraid to do stuff that doesn't sound like the natural thing to do as a startup, as a tech startup. So I mean, Micha and Shai did the support for the company for a very long time. They did a lot of technical jobs that you would think that it's only, you already have funding, you have to delegate it. I think that figuring out the exact experience is the real challenge. So you build a marketplace, and you have to plan big, and you have to think big, because otherwise it's not gonna, you probably don't believe in it enough if you don't build it and think about it scaling. But on the day-to-day, you need initially to feel the product, to experience it as if you were someone just coming across this thing, and that's it, without any intention, without any knowledge. And when I didn't invent it, but the term product market fit and so forth. But when you hear Brian Chesky from Airbnb, you listen to the story of the founder actually going to every person, door to door, physically, to see the place, to take the photos, to talk to the person, to go back and forth, to go to buy cornflakes, pack it with your own customized thing, Obama O's, the famous Obama O's, give it to people so that they can actually serve the other B of the B&B. So I think that's exactly the type of thing that you must do. Because if you don't, initially, if you don't eat your own dog food, you're doomed to miss the most critical points. And that's probably the first and most important that one should do. And I know that's pretty generic because it varies between one marketplace to the other, but there are the equivalents or the analogy of other things that people do in order to bring it to the same type of experience.
We have some time for some questions from the audience.
Yes, just last question.
Okay, so you
This is the point. How can someone from Britain make living on $5 an hour? I don't understand it totally. I miss the point totally.
Okay. Actually, the guy is making $4 because we take 20%. But the interesting thing about people is that they tend to tune themselves to a situation. Okay, so first and foremost, our goal, which was very early on, was to do the multiples or to actually let people upsell or sell more once we knew that what they did for $5 was good. That's one thing. So people actually enjoy also that continuing. The other thing, which is more, to the point of your question, people are very analytical on that. So a guy that is, or a gal that is doing a job for $5 would usually measure it. And they know that that job would probably take you or me an hour or 2 hours or 5 hours because it's a Photoshop and I don't know a thing about Photoshop. But for this particular person, it takes 5 minutes. So they know that for each hour that they spend on building traffic, they have the multiple. So if it's $50 per hour, because doing the multiples, and they have another 2 hours a day, other than the job, suddenly they make an extra $100 every day. That's how it started. You multiply it by 25. After 2009, when so many people lost their jobs, got into debts, suddenly you have another $3,000 a month, and that's your family vacation. And that's the thing that you dreamt about and couldn't do. So people actually did adopt the notion that you can actually aggregate even when it's a very small unit. And what happens is that the ones, in order to make yourself better than others, that were cataloging their service very similar to you, people knew that they have to excel on the quality. And that's the nice thing about it. So you knew that you have to be better at quality, and once you got better at quality, we also helped you upsell and do the multiples and so forth. Today, just to let you know, again, it's not a public information, but the average in 2010 was $5 for all transactions. We did, I don't know, somewhere in 2010, there was a month that I remember that the total revenue was, the GMV, what we call it, what the total transactions were $50,000, and it was exactly 10,000 transactions. Today, the average transaction is $20. That's the average. So, and we have a lot of people doing also stuff for $5. And that's going up and up. What happens is that in this particular market, there's a huge gap. Freelance in general is something that the transaction starts from $400 north. From 0 to 400, there's a certain vacuum. We are very happy to come bottom up and build this, fill this vacuum. and help people become actually freelancers, but better freelancers, more focused, knowing and more sensitive about quality and so forth. And that's, I hope it answers the question.
We have time for one question.
One more question? Yeah, good.
Not a question, I'll just throw out quickly that some of the things that you mentioned are also in Paul Graham's article, Do Things That Don't Scale. That's a good place to go back and see some of those things. That's not a question. So so the Fiverr team, they came to you with a site and a back end maybe already up there, but you sound like you're a guy who invests in the team. If they had come with just the idea and a fully developed concept, I mean, would that have been how early is pre-seed for you? What does it mean in terms of product market fit and things like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have any prerequisite. You know, if I will meet somebody that only 1 month ago had the idea, obviously there's so much you can do in 1 month in terms of development. But if this person is like me, he'll probably have an edge on me at that point. He will know much more than me, because it's a month more than I know about this thing. So the thing is that the real work has nothing to do with what you did so far, or the idea, or the initial product. It has, because it's like an embryo, so it has the same genetics. But actually, you really start the real work when you're out there, and things are evolving. You need to evolve so much between the phase that you are just a service or a product to the real thing that is called company. There are so many factors that you don't think about, and it's lucky you don't think about, because if you do, you'll forget about your startup. You wouldn't want to do it. So it's like birth. If people would remember it, we wouldn't be here. I guess. I never gave birth, yes, but I guess that memory is a big factor. So it's the same. It's a lot of issues. It's very, very complex. The good news about it is that when you bring several people together and they have the right skills that they can work like a team, you can do miracles. And that's the key thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you also, Amir. I think that it was a very insightful discussion, and I hope that you really took note for yourself and for your next stages. Thank you. Okay, we have now our startup pitch session. I want to invite Adam to join us. Please, Adam. Okay, we have 3 startups that will pitch to the audience. 3 minutes each. After the 3 minutes, Adam will start giving some questions, opinions, some comments for a few minutes. So if you with Adam, okay? For those that doesn't know, Adam is from 500 Startups, and we'll let him give a short introduction about himself now.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. So my name is Adam. I'm the venture partner for 500 Startup, covering the Israeli market. So 500 Startup is an accelerator and a seed fund located in the Bay Area. So we basically have about $250 million under management. We've invested in over 1,600 startups across the globe, so in more than 60 countries. And we have about 25 partners across the globe. And one of those places is Israel. So 500 Startup is basically an accelerator and a seed fund. Like I said earlier, we have 3 ways that we invest in startups. The first one is through the accelerator. We invest about $125K for 5% of the company, and then we accelerate them for 4 months. At the end of the 4 month, there's a demo day. We usually focus on growth, fundraising, and many other things that founders need. The second way that we do invest is basically seed investing. So basically we invest directly into the company by co-investing with other investor. We invest between 100 to 250K. And the third way is something that we've pioneered. It's called Distro Dojo. Distro is coming from distribution, so it's basically an accelerator that focuses only on distribution, on basically scaling the company. And the type of company that comes to the Distro Dojo are usually companies that before the Series A, so people who already have some sort of traction, pretty successful at bringing maybe 50K MRR, 50K a month in revenue, and we help them build the growth engine to get to 200K, 300K a month, and get to Series A. So that's pretty much it. And what I'm doing here in Israel is basically I'm doing the seed investing, so I invest in company directly, but also scout for the accelerator and the Distro Dojo.
Thank you, Adam. And now we will invite Eitan, our first startup, that will present Lancelot. And again, it's 3-minute pitch. I will take time and then a few questions from Adam.
Okay, hello guys, how are you? My name is Eitan Chaimovich. Unfortunately, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I raised more than $34 million to a company I was involved with. The last one of them was one of the founders of a small company called Qualcomm. Now I want to present you to my new startup called Lancelot. Oh, sorry, here we start. Lancelot, okay. The Lotto Dream. Lancelot is a social lottery app. We want to give people the ability to buy their biggest dream in life. There was bigger lotteries in the world. You can see the numbers. The biggest one of them, it's in Spain. It's 2.4 billion euro. People are buying lottery in there like crazy. But the problem is, how can you pay for Israel if it's in Spain? How can you play in America if you're in London? How can you play in Japan if you're in China? So what if people could participate in lottery draws worldwide, regardless to their geographical location, and now they can. With Lancelot, we able people with our app to team up and play any lottery in $3.2 billion a week. Jackpots worldwide. Well, how it's work? Every place in the world that people wants to play with their friends, the team leader will open a group through our app. He will call his friends through the social groups. His friends will join him. The app is doing an automatically agreement between all the group members. And then they send money. The captain, the team leader, is going to buy the ticket for all the group members. He's scanning the tickets and sending them to the group. Now I want to explain the opportunity. $262 billion a year people buy lottery all over the world. If you want to understand, in America, people buy lottery in $78 billion a year. If you want to understand, Uber market is $20 billion a year. Over 5 billion tickets being bought every week. And just to give you the scale, when there was the third lottery in America, for $540 million, the American bought 165 million tickets in an average of $10.50. There were times that the lottery sold $2 million a minute for 8-9 hours. Why it work? Because other companies done it before: Uber, Airbnb, Bash Gaming. And this is my Powerball team. And hope you understand. We want to raise now $2 million. And just about luck, I want you to remember, we need luck in life. And Forrest Gump said it better than us. My mama always said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Eitan.
I'd be happy to answer any questions. Yes.
And he's going to place whatever number you believe in, and then other people will join in. Is that how it works?
Yes and no. Just to explain, between 25 to 30% of the people without Lancelot are doing lottery together. But it's not regular, it's not globally. They're not doing it together globally. Usually it's locally.
Okay.
Because you can't hear in Israel about the lottery in New York.
Yeah.
Because nobody will hear about it. So the team leader that usually buy together today to his team, now we have the ability to collect the money, to have agreement. It's something that nobody do it today. If somebody take the ticket and run away, no problem. Now it's legalized.
Okay, so there are a few things that pops up in my head. First, the local thing that happens is usually between friends, right?
Yes.
So the team leader will now allow other people that are not connected to him. So everyone can connect to him and say, hey, I'd like to put $5 or something. How do you prevent that person to run away with the money, even if the money is very small or whatever?
We ensure that in a few ways. First of all, we want we're not giving the ability for the captain or the team leader to buy a $10,000 lottery ticket in day one.
Mm.
They have ranking, like in eBay. They rank it. And if they taking the money and run away, we give the players, and then we go and run after the captain to bring us the money back.
Okay. So the second question is, you have a legal agreement that people basically sign. How do you enforce that? Let's say I do win and I run away.
If you run away and you win, it's worse than today, because today when people buy together, there is no agreement.
Yeah.
So, but if you run away, we can't stop it.
Yeah.
But you can go legally to court and sue the guy, and then you will have trouble.
The difference between today and what you're proposing is that today I'm playing with friends. If I
Mhm.
run away, I fuck up my friend. But here, you basically don't have any. I mean, you could run away. Do you enforce it, or do you tell the user?
No,
to just
the
take
user
it?
enforce it. I will help them, but I will give you this. The idea came to me after the biggest lottery was 680 million, and one of the women won, and she was working in McDonald's in America, and she didn't want to pay for her colleagues. And they came to her and said, we are your partners. But she said, yeah, but the ticket that won, I bought for my own money. In Hebrew, I don't want to say it, how do you prove stuff like that? So now there is agreement and the money is transferred and there is a proof. How she can explain to the judge, I didn't get the money. And she has to, and I said, speaking as a woman, but it's a woman, it can be a man, they have to scan it in real time and send it to the group, and the group are giving her okay that they got the ticket. Okay?
Have you guys launched already?
3 months.
3 months?
No, 3 months for launch.
3 months. So no traction, no product yet.
No.
Okay, so you're looking to raise $2 million. What will you do with the money?
Majority is marketing.
Okay, can you explain what kind of marketing? What's the distribution strategy to get this off the?
PPC, CPS, all the regular methods, and there is another big thing for us, and it's with a question mark today, how much each team leader will bring to the group from his own friends, and this will be for free. So this is something I can't answer yet.
And so what's the business model?
We're taking percentage of the money transfer.
Okay, how much?
I don't want to talk about it now. A lot. Why? Because our competition in the market are taking today between 500 to 1,000%. But we're going to take much less, but it's going to be a lot.
Are you talking, so again, are you talking from the transfer to the team leader or when they win?
Both ways. We are getting money all the time.
So you're making money everywhere.
This is the best way.
Like crazy.
Like in Israel, through Jew.
Sorry, yeah.
It's okay, I'm Israeli.
Yeah.
I can make the joke. Okay, so
You're converted to do that, like the dentist in Seinfeld.
So one thing that I want to say is you don't have a product, you don't have traction, and you're looking to raise $2 million. It's going to be tough.
Life is not easy.
Yeah, but I mean, you can ease it in a way. A way would be to raise maybe a little bit less money and try to do something, because you could easily do something in the US, for example, and not have, for example, a marketplace that's two sides of the market, right? You could easily hack it, but just having one person on one side, which is the company, which is you.
Yes.
You could randomly put up numbers showed me as an investor is that in a very specific geography, with one person, you are able to generate an ROI on the PPC, for example. If you're doing PPC, you're putting $2 and you're making 2.2, or you're even making 1.9, but you could get to ROI positivity in a certain amount of time. Why don't you start with a small amount of money? Do like an MVP and do like a small test?
I tell you why. They're doing in the hundreds of millions of dollars. I disrupt their market. If you could look at me in front of my competition, it's the difference between Get Taxi and Uber, and I'm Uber. I can be much bigger. The market is huge. Like I told you, it's just in America, it's $78 billion a year. And if you want to penetrate, and you want to penetrate strongly, you have to put money and scale quite quickly.
Okay.
I won't get with you. I can explain it, but much thoroughly. But
okay.
Won't do it now.
More questions? Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
The next entrepreneur will be Amit with the extras.
Hi, I'm not used to speak with microphones. My name is Amit Streicher and I'm the founder and CEO of Extras. And my goal is to make Extras the world's largest marketplace for the events industry. And why? Well, I've been working in this industry for the past 16 years, building and managing teams. Since 2009, I'm the owner of a boutique production company and an event staffing agency. But really, most of the time, I've been chasing around for manpower needed for my events. The events industry is a seasonal and very fluctuating industry with strict deadlines. And that means we have a lot of problem of HR in this industry because every day, again and again, the employer needs to find manpower needed in daily changing teams, you know, because of every day, the size of the events is different. That means that first of all, we need to find that manpower, and second of all, we need to manage teams of employees every day from on-site locations, different team again and again. For the employees, the problem is to get various job proposals fitting their profile because most of the time, one employer can't give them enough work in order to make a living. From that pain, I created Extras. Extras is a mobile marketplace connecting employers in the events industry with temporary manpower and job seekers on demand on a daily job basis. It allows recruiting, assigning, and managing multiple teams for various events from the mobile phone and solves the problems mentioned before. So I have an idea, how can I make money out of it? I charge the employers. The employers are paying by two different models. First of all, the monthly retainer for 6 or 12 months, or the second of all,